The Texas line isn't empty desert. It's managed, taxed, by 5 factions facing the Lone Star bridges. Nuevo Laredo to Brownsville, El Paso to Presidio. The names change, but the logic doesn't. Control the bridge, control the flow. In 2025, the Cartel del Noreste presses the I-35 funnel at Nuevo Laredo. Gulf Cartel splinters, Scorpiones, Cyclones, and Metros hold the Gulf mouth at Matamoros and Reynosa. Out west, Línea, born as the Juárez cartel's muscle, refuses to die opposite El Paso. The rivalry makes headlines when shots ring out. It's decided by who can tax a truck in silence. Official stories talk about sanctions, arrests, and record-breaking seizures. Street stories say the line is owned, just owned more carefully. Today we map the 5 factions that control the Mexican side of Texas crossings and how their fights ripple through Laredo, Brownsville, McAllen and Pharr, El Paso, and Presidio. We stick to public record, flag rumors as rumors, and keep the stakes where they belong, at the bridges that keep America's supply chain breathing. We tell this through rivalries, east and west. East is Cartel del Noreste versus the Gulf Cartel's coastal factions for Tamaulipas plazas that face Laredo, Brownsville, and McAllen and Pharr. West is La Línea versus Sinaloa-linked cells across Ciudad Juárez. Court filings, press releases, and seizure photos give us the bones. Radio codes, nicknames, and whispered plaza lines give us the muscle. We keep both in frame. Allegations remain allegations until adjudicated. Acquittals get their due. If the record matters, make sure to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and turn on notifications. Now, the 5 factions that hold the crossings. Cartel del Noreste, CDN, ex Zetas DNA. Its enforcement brand is called Tropa del Infierno. Its plaza is Nuevo Laredo, facing Laredo, Texas, America's top land port by trade value. In February 2025, the United States designated CDN a foreign terrorist organization. In May, and again in August of 2025, Treasury sanctioned alleged arm buyers and a deputy leader. Authorities on both sides of the river describe ongoing arms procurement and human smuggling activity tied to the network. Those cases are alleged unless and until a court says otherwise. Scorpiones, the Scorpions, anchor Matamoros, opposite Brownsville. Investigators tied them to the daylight kidnapping of 4 Americans in March 2023. 2 victims were killed. Days later, a letter appeared, attributed to the Scorpions, apologizing. The authorship is disputed. The arrests that followed are a matter of record. Cyclones operate in the same city and along the coastal corridor. Analysts disagree on whether Cyclones and Scorpiones answer to a single Matamoros command or act as allied but distinct cells. The readout shifts by month and by who reaches a crime scene first. Metros hold Reynosa, opposite McAllen and Pharr. In late May and June of 2025, Tamaulipas authorities announced arrests after 5 members of the band Grupo Fugitivo were murdered. Families and prosecutors still contest the details. The investigation is ongoing, and all suspects are presumed innocent until proven guilty. La Línea, the armed wing long tied to the Juárez cartel. Plazas, Ciudad Juárez and Ojinaga, opposite El Paso and Presidio. In late October 2024, Treasury sanctioned alleged leadership in front entities. U.S. agencies describe La Línea as facilitating drug smuggling and other crimes. Specific allegations remain allegations unless and until adjudicated. Why these towns? Bridges and highways. Laredo's World Trade Bridge feeds I-35, the USMCA pipeline into San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, and the Midwest. Brownsville and Matamoros and Pharr and Reynosa push produce auto parts, electronics, Tight schedules, refrigerated cargo, money on wheels. El Paso and Juárez are the western metropolis. Ojinaga and Presidio are the desert back door. Whoever leverages the Mexican side plaza taxes loads, grants pace, permission, and backs it with squads and lookouts called halcones on rooftops and catwalks. Plaza control doesn't replace sovereignty, but it shapes what moves and when. In this story, the patrons aren't capos, they're agencies. Treasury freezing money. DEA setting national threat frames. CBP and HSI stacking seizures and human smuggling indictments. Mexico's military and Guardia Nacional raiding safe houses and checkpoints. In late October 2024, Treasury targeted La Línea facilitators. In February 2025, the State Department's terrorist designation landed on CDN and several other cartels. In May and August of 2025, Treasury followed with specific CDN sanctions. Each action is a test on the ground. Does the plaza fracture, or does a cousin step up? The East Front looks like this. CDN, anchored in Nuevo Laredo, pushes down the Ribereña, Highway 2, toward Miguel Alemán and beyond. Gulf's Scorpiones and Cyclones hold Matamoros. Metros lock Reynosa. Every bridge is a pressure valve. Whoever sets the tax decides who lives to haul another day. The West Front is La Línea versus Sinaloa-linked cells in Juárez, an urban chessboard of alleys, rail spurs, and river levees. The fight is visible when someone wants it to be. Most days, it isn't. Their fates diverged this year. CDN took formal hits. The terrorist label from state, then Treasury sanctions on an alleged armorer and a deputy boss. Mexican authorities announced arrests tied to CDN figures in Nuevo Laredo. Federal cases in South Texas sent human smuggling organizers to prison. The Gulf splinters shook, but didn't vanish. A Matamoros boss known as La Cana, associated with the Cyclones, was arrested in January 2024 and later extradited. Yet coastal collections and intimidation reports kept surfacing. In Reynosa, after the musician murders, prosecutors announced arrests and tied suspects to the metros. Defense attorneys and families demanded hard proof. Prosecutors pointed to forensics and phone records. La Línea absorbed Treasury's 2024 designations and kept contesting blocks in Juárez. On every front, pressure moved costs and faces, not the underlying math. Now, the set pieces that explain the method. Matamoros, 2023 into 2024. The apology. 4 Americans crossed for a medical appointment. Gunmen swarmed their car in daylight. The clip went viral. Mexico flooded the zone with soldiers and federal police. 2 survivors were found bound in a shack. 2 bodies lay beside them. Then came the twist. A handwritten letter appeared, attributed to the Scorpions, blaming undisciplined members and apologizing to the city and the families. 5 men were left bound beneath a tarp, allegedly handed over to authorities. The official path led to arrests and, months later, the detention of La Cana in Monterrey. The street version called the letter theater, public relations to keep the bridges open and the produce rolling. The authorship remains disputed. What's not disputed is the message. Even contrition can be weaponized when the business depends on calm at the toll booths. That apology became a model. PR as governance. Through 2024 and 2025, Matamoros area videos threatened gasoline tanker drivers. Pay, or you don't pass, the voice warned. Authorities called it counter-fuel theft work and extortion enforcement campaigns. Critics called it straight-up huachicol taxation. In a fuel-driven economy, a warning video is a tax bill. Nuevo Laredo, 2024 into 2025. The sanctions. Washington didn't just say CDN was a cartel. In February, it called it a foreign terrorist organization. In May, Treasury sanctioned an alleged weapons procurement boss and a former number 2, citing attacks on Mexican soldiers and a 2022 grenade and gunfire incident that shut the U.S. consulate. In February 2025, Mexican authorities announced the arrest of one of those men with guns, meth, and fentanyl pills. Meanwhile, HSI cases in Laredo described human smuggling schemes that funneled people through the brush to stash houses and then north. The official story is to squeeze the money and choke the guns. The street answer is simpler. The bridge never sleeps. And there lies the contradiction. Port Laredo still leads the nation by trade value. Every sunrise, thousands of trailers roll across the bridges and into the I-35 spine. Control changes hands, sometimes weekly. Taxation doesn't. Some days it's driven by fear. Other days by the promise of protection. Most days, the cargo can't afford delays. Now the betrayal math. The Gulf Cartel is a family tree with sawed-off branches. Cyclones and Scorpions align, then split, then align again in Matamoros. Metros war and negotiate over Reynosa's rents. Línea, far to the west, cuts deals with whoever can deliver at a profit, until the math changes again. Prosecutors call it conspiracy to traffic. On the street they call it plaza math. Fuel, people, guns, parts, credit. Not every message uses blood. Some are letters, typed, folded, slid under a door, with a silence that travels farther than a gunshot. Some are burned vehicles near a bridge, work stoppages by arson that turn a highway into a notice board. In Tamaulipas, the fuel economy blurs the line between legal and illegal so neatly that even insiders argue where the refinery ends and the plaza begins. A tanker threat isn't just intimidation. It is a public policy announcement written in gun oil, a communique you can smell. Around the I-35 mouth, CDN's look, black kit, unit patches, convoy discipline, speaks as loudly as a checkpoint. Uniforms become headlines. Formations read like leadies. In Juárez, La Línea and its rivals use corridos, murals, narcomantas, and sudden curfews to repeat the same line. We set the rules. When messages go unattributed, they remain allegations. When they carry a signature, they become instructions. Court calendars lag the street. HSI and U.S. attorneys move smuggling and weapons cases. Treasury freezes accounts that will never see a jury box. Mexico's arrests can stick or evaporate into rebranded crews with fresh logos and the same payroll. After the Grupo Fugitivo murders, Tamaulipas officials announced multiple arrests and tied suspects to the metros. Families asked for independent DNA tests, chain of custody clarity, and a clearer motive. Prosecutors promised that forensics and phone records would fill the gaps, that timelines would harden, that names would match. The press conferences ended. The vigils did not. The courts will decide. The community is still waiting. Reinvention never stops. When pressure hits Tamaulipas, traffic drifts to smaller crossings, ranch roads, and rail spurs that cut behind the headlines. When Juárez heats up, Ojinaga and Presidio look calmer, until they do not. The only constant is commerce. U.S.-Mexico trade keeps breaking records. Port Laredo keeps wearing the crown. Enforcement moves costs around the board, but demand keeps the game alive. For locals, safety becomes predictability. The quiet expectation that trucks will roll, that schools will dismiss on time, that kids will make it home before dark. As of October 31st, 2025, 5 factions face the Texas line. Cartel del Noreste at Nuevo Laredo, Scorpions and Cyclones at Matamoros, Metros at Reynosa, La Línea at Juárez and Ojinaga. Official moves, sanctions, and raids shape the board. Street moves set the toll. The border is not open or closed. It is contested every day. If you live there, it isn't theory. It's a timetable you move to. Engines lifting the morning, manifests humming by noon, receipts closing the day while radios drop low and porch lights get checked twice. Someone always holds the line. The only question is who signs the bill tonight. For straight reporting on power, without the gore or the gossip, subscribe to Red State Crime and turn on notifications. Until the next dispatch, stay sharp and stay safe.